Okay, so let's start with the super quick revision of the next chapter, that is charge of GST. Very simple chapter, but very important chapter conceptually. Let's start with it. Yes, now in this particular chapter, we are going to do mainly two sections. Mainly, one is section number 9 and section number 10. Okay, section number 9 and section number 10 of the CGST Act. And corresponding to section number 9 of the CGST Act, we are going to do section number 5 of the IGST Act. Okay, now purpose of this particular chapter. Now in the previous chapters, we have already studied that what will be considered as goods, what will be considered as services. If it is goods and services, plus if the transaction is a supply, then only the applicability of GST comes on that. Okay, now if we know that GST is applicable on any particular goods or services, then in that case, will GST be applied on this or will GST be levied on this? So the answer is yes. So now the question arises that ma'am, which GST will be levied? Like which type of tax will be levied? CGST will be levied, SGST will be levied, UTGST will be levied, IGST will be levied. What will be levied? All those will be told to us in this charge of GST chapter, and few different concepts we are going to study in the chapter. Okay, so now let's start with it. Just like I told you, we have already studied in the previous chapter also. Two types of supplies are there. One is your intrastate supply, other one is your interstate supply. Okay, intrastate supply, intrastate supply. Intrastate supply, if we say, then the location of supplier and the place of supply, if these two are situated within the same state, then it will be considered as intrastate. If these two are situated in two different states or union territories, then it will be considered as interstate. Okay, if there is intrastate supply, then there will be CGST and SGST applicable, or CGST and UTGST applicable. If there is an interstate supply, then in that case only IGST will be applicable. Okay, then we had got a few definitions here which we will consider as in when we go ahead. Yes, the most important definition that we need to do here is the definition of India. Okay, the meaning of the term India. Now we know that we had studied in the first chapter also, we had revised it in the first chapter also, that we have different acts. Now we have got CGST Act, SGST Acts of different states, then UTGST Act, IGST Act, etc. Now, if I ask you about CGST Act, then we know that CGST Act will be applicable to whole of India. UTGST Act will be applicable to all the union territories, Call D and others. Then your IGST, Integrated GST, that will be applicable to whole of India. SGST Acts will be applicable to the respective state. Example, Maharashtra SGST will be applicable to Maharashtra. Okay, Delhi SGST will be applicable to the state of Delhi, or we can say union territory having its own legislature, that is Delhi. Right now, if we say that it is applicable to whole of India, means what is the meaning of the term India there? Okay, now India, if we talk from land point of view, then can we say the territory of India, that is from north to the south, from the west to the east, everything belongs to India, and that territory as which is mentioned in the Article 1 of our Constitution. Okay, that land territory will be included in the term called as India. Plus, when we talk about our waters, okay, then we know that the territorial waters of India, that is up to 12 nautical miles from the baseline, that belongs to India. The subsoil and the seabed lying below this territorial waters, even this belong to India. Continental shelf, contiguous zone, and exclusive, up to exclusive economic zone of India, that is up to total exclusive economic zone, which goes up to 200 nautical miles from the baseline, even that is going to form part of India. Okay, so land is done, waters is done, and now when we talk about the airspace, okay, then they say that the airspace above our land territory, okay, in our Indian map, whatever is the airspace above the land territory and the airspace above the territorial waters, okay, only above the territorial waters, even that form part of India. So all these things are included in the term called as India, right? And when we say India, so we know that whatever places we have now covered, to all these places, all our GST provision shall become applicable. Okay, then after that, going ahead, Just like I had told you, we are going to do two sections in the chapter. One is section number 9 and the other one is section number 10 of the CGST Act. Let's start first with section number 9 of the CGST Act. And when we are doing section number 9 of the CGST Act, correspondingly, we are also required to do section number 5 of the IGST Act. Okay, section number 5 of the IGST Act. When I say CGST Act, means that the transactions which we are going to discuss there is going to be your intrastate transaction. But when I mention about IGST Act, we know that the transaction that we are discussing about is going to be the IGST Act, right? Okay, so now in the section number 9 and correspondingly in section number 5, we have got 5 subsections. Okay, starting from section 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5. Correspondingly, copy paste, we are going to have 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5 of the IGST Act. Okay, let's start with the first one, section number 9.1 of the CGST Act or section number 5.1 of the IGST Act, which simply says that 9.1 says that in case of any intrastate transactions, okay, in case of any intrastate supply of goods or services, CGST will be applicable. Okay, CGST tax will be applicable on what value? On the transaction value. Okay, GST will be calculated on some transaction value which will be determined under section number 15 that we are going to do in the valuation chapter. And whenever there is an intrastate supply of alcoholic liquor for human consumption, then in that case, that is as of now totally outside the purview of GST. So there will be no GST applicable on the same. So CGST will also not apply on the same, and the maximum rate of CGST that can be made applicable by the government that has been notified till now, maximum rate that is 20%. Okay, 20% is your CGST rate. Similarly, similar maximum limit is given in the respective SGST laws also, and therefore the total rate of GST, okay, when you study the total IGST rate, that will go to 40%. Okay, CGST is just half part of the GST tax rate, right? Okay, so this was told in section number 9.1. Correspondingly, we have got section number 5.1. Section number 5.1 says that in case of interstate supplies, okay, in case of interstate supply, the GST will be applicable, IGST will be applicable whenever there is any interstate supply of goods or services except for alcoholic liquor for human consumption. Again, this IGST will be applicable on some transaction value. That transaction value will be determined under section number 15 under the valuation chapter, and the maximum rate of IGST that will be applicable is equal to 40%. Yes, okay, so till here everything was same, just that in section number 9 we discussed about CGST and about intrastate transactions. In section number 5 we discussed about IGST and we discussed about the interstate transactions, right? Now, one extra thing that is applicable in case of your integrated, in case of your IGST is that whenever there is any interstate transaction in the form of import, okay, whenever there is any import of goods, etc., at that time IGST is also applicable, plus customs duty is also applicable, because that tax was not subsumed in GST na. So basic custom duty is going to be applicable, plus along with basic custom duty your IGST is also going to apply, right? Then they said that if suppose you are dealing in some demerit goods or you are dealing in some luxury goods, then in addition to these two taxes there can be GST compensation cess also which can be made applicable, right? And then they had come up with a clarification last time, with a proviso last time, where they said that there are certain goods, okay, there are certain goods, example there can be some intangible goods, or example there can be some goods which is in the form of specified actionable claims, casino, online money, gaming, etc., okay, on which customs duty is not applicable. Okay, still IGST will be applicable. Okay, what did we just now study? We just now studied that whenever custom duty is applicable, along with custom duty your IGST is also applicable. But now they are telling there can be certain category of goods where custom duty is not applicable at the time of import, but even if custom duty is not applicable, still IGST is going to apply. Okay, that is written here. Then going on to the next section, section number 9.2 and section number 5.2, I am taking both of it together. Section number 9.2 and 5.2 says that as of now, CGST or IGST, okay, CGST or IGST is not applicable on those 5 products. As of now, it is not applicable. Petroleum, crude, high speed, diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, ATF, etc. As of now, GST is not applicable on the same, and it will be applicable with effect from a date which will be notified by the government after taking the recommendation from the GST Council. right? So CGST is also not applicable and IGST is not applicable, and on that the VAT and excise duty etc. is applicable as we had studied it earlier. Okay, then going on to the next section, again section number 9.3 and section number 5.3, I am taking both of these together. Okay, 9.3 and 5.3 says what? 9.3 and 5.3 says that there are certain transactions, okay, there will be certain transactions, there will be certain supply of goods and services which will be notified by the government, on which the government will say that instead of forward charge mechanism, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. Okay, ma'am, what will happen in case of reverse charge mechanism? In case of reverse charge mechanism, the supplier will not collect the tax from the recipient. Instead, the recipient will pay the tax to the government from his pocket. Okay, so that is your reverse charge mechanism. So there will be certain goods and certain services which the central government will notify after taking the recommendation from the GST Council, and on such goods reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. Okay, that has been notified by way of a notification, and power to put reverse charge mechanism on the same is given by section number 9.3 and section number 5.3. I hope I am clear till you. Okay, then going on to the next section, that is section number 9.4 and section number 5.4. Okay, again I am repeating, section 9.4 when we are talking from the CGST point of view. Section 5.4 if we are talking, then we are talking from the IGST point of view. 9.4 and 5.4 says that, 9.4 and 5.4 says that for some specified persons, okay, for some specified persons, example builders, okay, when they are purchasing goods from an unregistered persons, okay, means an unregistered person is making supply to a builder. Okay, at that time they are telling that on certain purchases, okay, on certain purchases the builder will be liable to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. Okay, now ma'am, what is the difference between 9.3 and 9.4? See, common thing between the two is in both the cases reverse charge mechanism is applicable. Okay, in 9.3, 9.4 there will be certain specified goods and services when RCM will be applicable, and in section number 9.4 the 9.4 provision is applicable only to specified persons. Okay, it is not applicable on different what do you say, goods and services. It is applicable to specified persons who will be required to follow reverse charge mechanism if they are receiving certain goods or services from unregistered person. Because if they are receiving something from unregistered person, then there will be no GST at the time of receiving those goods. Yes, so there is a loss of revenue to the government. So government says, okay, no problem. If you have purchased it from unregistered person, no problem. Now you have to pay the tax on the same to the government under reverse charge mechanism, right? Then going on to the last one, that is section number 9.5 and section number 5.5. Okay, section number 9.5 and 5.5 talks about e-commerce operator. You can recollect now, right? It talks about e-commerce operator, that whenever there are certain notified services, okay, we will study list of 5 notified services. Whenever there are certain notified services which are provided by the government, by any particular person to the customer through an e-commerce operator, through an intermediary, that is your e-commerce operator, then in some cases the tax on the same has to be paid by the e-commerce operator, that we are going to discuss in detail in case of section number 9.5 when we do it ahead. Okay, so 9.5 is talking about intrastate transactions. 5.5 is going to talk about the interstate supplies, such interstate supplies of services, notified services, where the tax is going to be paid by the e-commerce operator. Are you clear with this? Yes. Anyway, this particular section we are going to do in detail once we go ahead. Right now, so 9.1 was normally telling that in case of intrastate supply, CGST will be applicable. 5.1 was telling that in case of interstate transactions, IGST will be applicable. 9.2 and 5.2 was telling that on those 5 products, as of now, GST is not applicable. It will be made applicable when notified by the government. 9.3, okay, 9.3 and 9.3 or 5.3. Okay, 9.3 and 5.3 was telling that there will be certain goods and services on which reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. So now let's do section number 9.3 and 5.3, and next we are going to go to section 9.4 and 5.4, which was talking about that builder purchasing certain goods or builder availing certain services from an unregistered person, right? So now your reverse charge mechanism is applicable. Now first of all, what do you mean by reverse charge mechanism? Reverse charge mechanism is such a mechanism where the liability to pay the tax is with the recipient. That is, see, normally also the recipient only pays the tax from his pocket. Okay, it is the recipient who suffers. But it is the supplier who collects the tax from the recipient and pays it to the government in normal circumstance. That is a forward charge mechanism. But in reverse charge mechanism, the supplier will not collect any tax from the recipient. Supplier will just collect the value of goods or services from the recipient. His work is over. Okay, but now the extra responsibility on the recipient is he is going to pay the tax on those goods or services directly to the government. So filing the GST returns, paying the taxes to the government is now whose extra responsibility? Now that is the responsibility of the recipient, which was in normal circumstance, which is the responsibility of the supplier, right? And now whenever the recipient pays this tax under reverse charge mechanism directly to the government, so he will have to pay this amount in cash. Okay, means he cannot utilize the ITC and he cannot pay this amount. He'll have to pay full amount from his pocket, and then immediately after paying this amount, he can take a input tax credit of the same in the same month. Okay, so they are telling that the effect is going to be the same. Okay, earlier also what used to happen in case of forward charge mechanism, what happens? In case of forward charge mechanism, the supplier takes the amount from the recipient and pays it to the government, and recipient gets the input tax credit of the same. Here also, here the only difference is recipient is going to directly pay the tax to the government, and after paying the tax to the government, he can take the input tax credit of the same. Okay, now the most important thing here is on which goods and which services, okay, on which goods and which services your this thing is payable. What do you say? Tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism. Let's try to understand that. Acha, I will do one thing. Because you must be referring the last day revision notes, I'll take the revision from these notes only. Okay, we are now doing the reverse charge mechanism, so I'll take it from the last day revision notes only. Now we were just discussing about section number 9.3 and section number 5.3. Section number 9.3 and 5.3 is going to notify certain goods and certain services on which tax is required to be paid under reverse charge mechanism. Okay, first let's do about goods. That is, whenever there is any supply, okay, just try to understand it once. Whenever there is any supplier who is supplying certain goods to the recipient, okay, the goods which we are going to study now, whenever there is a supply of such goods from one person to another, at that time reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, that the supplier's responsibility will be only to sell the goods and to collect his money. Okay, no tax is involved in this. The responsibility to pay the tax is going to be on the recipient. Recipient will pay this tax directly to the government, and he will take the input tax credit of the same after paying that amount in cash. Right, now let's see on which products, on which goods. Okay, services list is a big list, goods list is a comparatively smaller list. Let's try to understand on which goods the tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism. So as you can see here from the board, goods like cashew nut, whether shelled, not shelled, peeled, not peeled, doesn't matter. Then cashew nuts, then BD wrapper leaves, tobacco leaves and raw cotton, but only when it is supplied by the agriculturist, farmer, to any registered person. So they are telling there will be no responsibility on the agriculturist, whereas the responsibility is going to be on the registered person. Then similarly, supply of lottery. Okay, lottery tickets are generally supplied by government, state government, union territory or local authority. They supply the tickets to the lottery seller, distributor, agent, etc. So no responsibility on the government. The responsibility is going to go to the lottery distributor. Then silk yarn, when it is supplied by the manufacturer of the silk yarn to any registered person, at that time also RCM will be applicable. Again, you will see the responsibility is not there on the manufacturer of silk yarn, whereas it is there on that registered person. Then used vehicles, seized and confiscated goods, old and used goods, waste and scrap. Okay, when it is sold by whom? Okay, generally it is confiscated by the government when it is supplied by the central government, but excluding Ministry of Railways. Okay, we will see this ahead also. Whenever there is Ministry of Railway getting involved there, at that time always forward charge mechanism is applicable. So from central government, exclude Ministry of Railways. So any other ministry under the central government, when they are supplying this to any other person, Okay, central government, state government, union territory, local authority, when they are supplying this used vehicles, seized and confiscated goods, etc. to any registered person, government says our responsibility is not there to go and pay the tax to the GST department. It will be the responsibility of the recipient. Similarly, essential oils like peppermint and other mint, when it is supplied by an unregistered person to a registered person. See, when unregistered person is supplying to a registered person, anyway he is not going to collect any tax. So the tax responsibility is going to be on this registered person. And then the last one, that is priority sector lending certificate. Okay, priority sector lending certificate, mainly relevant for CA final students. Priority sector lending certificate, you have done it in the previous chapter, which is the certificate traded between the banks through the RBI portal. So whenever there is this certificate transfer, we had studied that on that GST is applicable, and in this case the recipient is required to pay the tax on the same when it is supplied by any registered person to a registered person, because one bank is going to supply it to another bank. The recipient bank will be required to pay the tax on the same under reverse charge. Okay, so these are certain goods on which reverse charge mechanism is applicable, like your cashew nuts, BD wrapper leaves, tobacco leaves, raw cotton, silk yarn, confiscated goods, used vehicles, essential oils, a priority sector lending certificate, etc. These are such cases where reverse charge mechanism is applicable. If you want, I'll again just revise the concept of reverse charge mechanism for you. Supplier is generally supplying the goods or services to the recipient. Okay, I'm telling you about reverse charge mechanism. So in this case, when this recipient is going to pay the consideration, it will not pay the tax to the supplier, it will just pay the value of the goods to the supplier, and then the responsibility of the recipient will be to pay the tax amount to the government. This amount will be paid in cash, and then after paying this amount, recipient will be able to take the input tax credit of the same. I hope I am very clear till here. Yes, so this was your list of goods on which reverse charge mechanism is applicable. Now let's go to the most important part of the chapter, that is reverse charge mechanism. Reverse charge mechanism in case of services. Okay, now there are certain services they have given in some 16 paras. Okay, 1/6 they have given in some 16 paras. Some services, when it is supplied by a supplier to a recipient, in that case also compulsorily reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. Okay, first service is GTA service. Okay, goods transport agency service. Whenever there is any supply of service in respect of transportation of goods by road, okay, this is very crucial mistake area. Basically, transportation of goods by road, when it is provided by a goods transport agency to 7 specified persons. Okay, basically you have to make a picture in your mind. Okay, GTA is providing the services to 7 specified persons. Ma'am, who are these 7 specified persons? So first one is a factory which is registered under the Factories Act 1948. Second one is a society which is registered under the Societies Registration Act 1860. Okay, next one, or any other law for the time being in force. Next one is a cooperative society which is established under any such law. Okay, then next one is going to be your any registered person under CGST, SGST, IGST law. Okay, first one factory, second one societies, third one cooperative society, fourth one any registered person. Then fifth one is a body corporate. Okay, fifth one is a body corporate. Body corporate definition you already have. Okay, then next one is going to be your partnership firm, whether or not registered. Okay, partnership firm whether or not registered, plus your AOP, association of person, that will be also included there. And last one is going to be your CTP, casual taxable person for a temporary period. Okay, casual taxable person who is located here in India. These 7 people, okay, if these people are taking the services of transportation of goods by road from a GTA, then in such cases the responsibility to pay the tax is on those 7 people. Okay, RCM will be applicable and these 7 people will be responsible to pay the tax on the same, means there is no responsibility on the GTA. Okay, so see what are they telling? If recipient is one of the above 7 persons, then GST is chargeable. Now GTA supplier, normally GTA supplier, suppose if he says that no, I am okay, I will take the registration, then no problem. If he himself get registered, then in that case GTA is paying the taxes, then we can call that as forward charge mechanism. But if GTA is not taking the responsibility as told by the reverse charge mechanism provisions, so no problem. In that case, reverse charge charge mechanism will be applicable. Acha, what if recipient is any other than above 7 people? Okay, see, only if the GTA services are provided to the 7 specified people, then only RCM is applicable. Na? If it is provided to any other persons other than 7 specified persons, example, unregistered individual person, people like you and me, unregistered individual people, then in that case, RCM is not applicable. Okay, now see, here we are just determining whether RCM is applicable or RCM is not applicable. Okay, so here we just came to know that RCM is not applicable. When we go ahead to the further chapters, we will identify if RCM is not applicable, then FCM will apply. But is GST taxable? Is GST applicable on the same? Or is there some exemptions given by the government? That we are going to study it further. In this chapter, we are just determining whether RCM or FC. Right? Acha, but there was an exception. Okay, there is an exception coming in this particular point, which I have put here in this table. If suppose the recipient, okay, means if whenever the GTA is providing this service, if suppose the recipient is a department or establishment of government, central government, state government, union territory, local authority, government agencies, etc., who have taken registration under GST Act, means they are registered persons. Okay, if they are registered persons, means they are covered here in those 7 specified persons, but they have got themselves registered only for the purpose of TDS under section number 51, which we will study ahead. Okay, they have got themselves registered only for deducting TDS under section 51 of the CGST Act. Then in that case, reverse charge provisions are not applicable, means in that case, forward charge mechanism is going to be applicable. Are you understanding this? Okay, so this point is an exception point, that whenever the GTA is doing supply to the government department, government agencies, local authority, and those government etc. had got themselves registered, but only for the purpose of deducting TDS and not for the purpose of doing any taxable supply, then in that case, reverse charge mechanism is not applicable. Are you clear with this? This was the first service. Okay, this was the first service where reverse charge mechanism is going to be applicable. Right? Now, second one is legal services. Okay, whenever there is any legal services, just like advocate services, etc. Okay, legal services provided by individual advocate, including a senior advocate or a firm of advocates. Whenever these people are providing any services, legal services, directly or indirectly to any business entity. Business definition we had done in the previous chapter. Business entity which is located here in India, located here in the taxable territory. Okay, means the business entity is availing the services of a lawyer, advocate, etc. Then in that case also, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, and this business entity will be required to pay the tax on the same. Okay, similarly, when there are any services provided by arbitral tribunal is nothing but your arbitrator. Okay, middleman who is trying to solve your problems without dragging the matter to the court. Whenever the arbitrator or arbitral tribunal, okay, you can give alternative name to this particular person. This person can also be called as an arbitrator. When he is providing service to a business entity, there also reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, and the business entity will be responsible to pay the tax on the same under reverse charge mechanism. Right? Then going to the next service, that is sponsorship services. Okay, if there is any particular person who is providing sponsorship services to a body corporate or to a partnership firm or LLP. Okay, any person who is providing which services? Any person who is providing sponsorship services, means I am doing advertisement for the other person. Okay, I am going to take money and I am going to give advertisement service to that particular person. Sponsorship service to that particular person. This person is the payer of the consideration, and I am going to put his title, I am going to put his name, I am going to put his banner, etc. And we are providing the service only to whom? Only to a body corporate or to a partnership firm. Then in that case, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, and these recipients will be responsible. Okay, this recipient of service will be responsible to pay the tax on the same. Please be careful with this recipient. Okay, above it was business entity, no problem in that, but here it is a body corporate or a partnership firm only, then only reverse charge mechanism is applicable. Let's say if sponsorship services are provided to an individual person, then reverse charge mechanism will not apply, right? Then the next one, fifth para, is very, very important. Here the services are being provided by government to a business entity. Okay, whenever there are any services provided by central government, state government, union territory, including your parliament, courts, tribunals, etc., when or local authority, etc., whenever these people are providing any services to the business entity, government is getting rid of this responsibility, and government says that reverse charge mechanism, GST department says that reverse charge mechanism will apply, and the person responsible to pay the tax is going to be the business entity. But in this there are 4 exceptions. Okay, means for 4 services reverse charge mechanism is not applicable. Let's try to understand which are the 4 services. First one is renting of immovable property. Suppose if government has rented immovable property to a business entity, then they say that RCM is not applicable. So for the time being we will say that okay ma'am, forward charge mechanism is going to be applicable then, right? Then after that, the next one is any services provided by Department of Post and Ministry of Railways. Ministry of Railways, just now we saw some time back in case of goods also, at that time also forward charge mechanism is applicable. Similarly, there is one more department. Suppose the Department of Post is providing any services, example speed post services, etc., to any business entity, at that time also forward charge mechanism will be applicable, reverse charges not applicable. So first one was immovable property, second one was services by Department of Post and Ministry of Railways. Next one is any services which are provided in relation to vessel or aircraft. Okay, let's say government has provided some repairs of vessel, repair of aircraft services to a business entity. There also forward charge mechanism will be applicable. And the last one is whenever any services are provided in relation to transportation of goods or transportation of passengers. Transportation of goods or transportation of passengers services are provided by government to a business entity. So in that case also forward charge mechanism will be applicable. Apart from these four, what will be the scenario? Apart from these 4, reverse charge mechanism is applicable. For these 4, forward charge mechanism is going to be applicable. Okay, this is one such adjustment, this is one such transaction which is generally tested. So please be careful with the same. Okay, then similarly, para number 5A, which says that again government is providing, okay, central government, state government, union territory, local authority, except Ministry of Railways. Okay, if these people are providing renting of immovable, remember renting of immovable property was anyway removed from the above point. Yes, when this service is being provided by government, renting of immovable property to any registered person, okay, to any registered person under your person registered under the CGST Act, then in that case they say that reverse charge mechanism is going to be applicable. Okay, from the above point they had removed it and now they are considering it separately, and they are telling that for renting of immovable property services provided by government to any registered person, let's push the responsibility on that registered person and the government will not be responsible for the same, and hence in this case reverse charge mechanism is going to be applicable, right? Then next point, para number 5AA, which says that renting of residential dwelling only. Okay, above was a wider term, that is renting of immovable property. Here, if you are renting a house, renting a residential dwelling to a registered person, okay, any person, not only government, if any person, here it was government only, and here if any person is renting a residential house, residential dwelling to a registered person, then the responsibility to pay the tax, if applicable, is going to be on this registered person, that is reverse charge mechanism is going to be applicable. Am I clear with this? Yes, please remember these 3 pointers specifically, point number 5, point number 5A and point number 5AA. Point number 5 was talking about services provided by government. Okay, by government to any business entity except for those 4 will come under reverse charge mechanism. 5A was talking about government providing renting of immovable property services to any registered person will be responsible. And 5AA says that if any person is providing any service by way of renting of a residential dwelling to any registered person, then again reverse charge mechanism will be applicable and this registered person will be required to pay the tax on the same. Then point number 5B. Point number 5B talks about 5B and 5C actually. Both of it talks from the promoter point of view, talks from the builder point of view. Okay, I am taking both the points together. Now let's say if the builder has purchased TDR, okay, transferable development rights, or if the builder has taken FSI, or if the builder has taken a land on long-term lease. Okay, if the builder has taken TDR, if the builder has taken FSI, or if the builder has taken long-term lease from any particular person. Okay, this person is a builder. For construction of a particular project, the builder will need all these things. So in this cases, on all these cases, they are telling that if at all this particular transaction is taxable, then this will be taxable as per reverse charge mechanism. That is, the person liable to pay the tax is going to be the builder. This is applicable for 5B also, and it is applicable for 5C also. Right? Then going on to the next one, that is point number 6. Point number 6 is very, very important. You have got questions on this in the question bank also. Whenever there are any services provided by director of a company to the company. Okay, director is providing services to its company or body corporate. Then in that case, if he is providing any services in capacity of a director, okay, if he is providing any services in capacity of a director, and if he is receiving anything in the form of remuneration, okay, which is not salary, but anything in the form of professional fees, etc., sitting fees, etc., then in that case, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. That is, director is providing service to the company. Okay, so and company is paying the consideration for the same. So company will be responsible to pay the tax on the same under reverse charge mechanism. Okay, but what if this director is employed as a employee? What if he is as an employee in the company? Then he is going to receive something in the form of salary, and salary we had already studied in schedule number 3, that whenever there is any employer-employee relationship between the two, then GST is totally not applicable, because this is considered as non-supply. Okay, so director, you have to check whatever he is receiving in which capacity. If he is receiving in a professional capacity, in capacity of a director from a company or from a body corporate, then in that case reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. Okay, so here again, yes, now they had given a clarification that whatever services the director is providing in capacity of the director of the company, only for that reverse charge mechanism is applicable. Okay, if director is providing some services to the company in some other capacity, example, the director is also a chartered accountant and he is providing some professional services, CA services to that particular company, then in that case reverse charge mechanism is not applicable, because that service is not providing in capacity of a director. Okay, that is given here in the circular. Then let's go to the next 2 pointers, point number 7 and point number 8. Very, very simple, very, very important. Let's say if there is an insurance agent who is providing service to an insurance company. Okay, agents are appointed by the insurance company, where the agents do the work on behalf of the insurance company. They get clients for the insurance company, and for that they get some commission. So on that commission, insurance company is going to pay the consideration, which is going to be in the form of commission. On that GST is not applicable. Under forward charge mechanism, it will be taxable under reverse charge mechanism. That is, insurance company will be responsible to pay the tax on the same. Right? And similarly, whenever there is a recovery agent, okay, whenever there is a recovery agent, Vasuli Bhai, okay, any particular person who is helping the banks, NBFC, financial institutions to recover the money. There will be bad debts, etc. in case of banking company, financial institutions, NBFCs, etc. So whenever recovery agent is providing the services to the banking company in lieu of some consideration, then in that case again reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, and the banking company, financial institutions, NBFC will be responsible to pay the tax on the same. Okay, so basically what are they telling here to the insurance agent and to the recovery agent? They are telling that you concentrate on your work, you will get your money, responsibility to pay the taxes, to file the returns is going to go on the company. Yes, that is a conclusion, small simple conclusion of point number 7 and point number 8. Then going on to 2 points. Okay, point number 9 and point number 10. Point number 9 and point number 10. Yes, these 2 points we can do it together. Just 1 second. So now let's do the next point. That is point number, yes, 9 and 9A. Okay, not 10. 10 starts from here. Point number 9 and 9A, similar points. Let's do these 2 points together. Now let's say if there is a music composer, or if there is an artist, or if there is a photographer, okay, who are creating something new. A music composer is creating a new music. He's making a new music, a photographer is clicking some original pictures, an artist is making something, and now if they are giving their rights, okay, if they are giving their copyright to someone else to use it, okay, example, a music composer gives it to a music company, okay, that okay, you can use my song, you can use my music, etc., but in return I will require some royalty, etc. Then in that case, who is providing the service to whom? Can we say music composer? Okay, music composer is providing the service to that music company, yes, or to the producer. Similarly, a photographer, okay, photographer is going to provide his service to some other company who is going to use his photographs, etc. So here the responsibility to pay the tax is going to be on the recipient. Means they are telling whoever is creating this original, okay, whoever is creating this original, you concentrate on your work, okay, and the other person, you will get your royalty, etc., and the other person will be paying the tax on the same. Okay, similarly for point number 9a, let's say I am an author, I am writing a book, okay, I am the original creator of the same, and now I am giving this rights to a publisher and I am telling him that you can publish my book, okay, you can publish my book. Then in such a case, what will happen? Then in such a case, the publisher, that is the recipient, will be responsible to pay the tax on the same under reverse charge mechanism. Similar pointers? Yes, so the original creator is free from all these responsibility. He will get his consideration, but the responsibility to pay the tax is on the recipient. Okay, then there is an exception point. Okay, exception point coming here. Exception point is that suppose if the author, okay, only for this 9a point the exception is applicable, that suppose if the author says, no, I will take the GST registration, I will collect the tax and I will pay it to the government. No problem. Okay, then in that case, forward charge mechanism will be applicable and he will have to write on the invoice that he is collecting the tax under forward charge mechanism. And once he has chosen to do this, that is to pay the tax under forward charge mechanism, he cannot withdraw this option for a period of 1 year. Okay, see, either we had already relieved you from the responsibility now, that the responsibility to pay the tax is on the recipient. But now if you being an oversmart person, if you say, no, I will pay the tax under GST, I will collect the tax from the recipient, etc., then if you have come under this, then you have to stay under this for a period of 1 year, right? Then going on to the next point, that is point number 10. Okay, point number 10, very simple. Now suppose if there is a committee called as overseeing committee. Okay, overseeing committee of RBI, which oversees the works done by the RBI. So can we say members of this committee? Members of this committee are doing the work for the RBI. Means members of this committee are providing the services to the RBI. In that case also, responsibility to pay the tax is on the RBI and not on the members of overseeing committee. Right? Then similarly, if there is a DSA, direct selling agent, okay, individual person, individual agent of a bank, individual direct selling agent of a bank, etc., who is providing service to a bank or NBFC, means he is helping to get clients for the banks or NBFC, just like we had done for insurance company. Again, the responsibility to pay the tax is not on that individual direct selling agent, but it is going to be on that bank or NBFC. Right? Then after that, let's go to the next one, that is services provided by business facilitator to a banking company. Okay, business facilitator providing service to a banking company. Business facilitator is a person who helps the bank in taking some important decisions. Okay, who makes some strategies, etc. for the banks. So they are telling business facilitator, you concentrate on your work, responsibility to pay the tax is going to be on the bank. Okay, similarly, if there is an agent of business correspondent, okay, above the term that was used was the business facilitator. Now, if there is agent of a business correspondent who is providing services to a business correspondent. Now, ma'am, what is a business correspondent? Okay, business correspondent is just like an extended arm, okay, extended arm of a banking company. It is just like one branch of a banking company. Okay, now whenever the banking company wants to expand its operation, can we say it will have to open multiple branches? Okay, but it will require some capital investment also. So what does the bank do initially? In some areas, it will appoint business correspondents. Okay, these business correspondents acts like bank only. They take deposits from banks, from the public, etc., in the name of this particular bank. Okay, so now bank is appointing a business correspondent. Business correspondent will further appoint agent of business correspondents. Okay, so now here who is ultimately rendering the service to whom? Agents are rendering the service to the business correspondent. Again, the responsibility to pay the tax is going to be on the business correspondent. Here we are not talking about the relationship between bank and business correspondent, but we are talking about agent of business correspondent and the business correspondent. Are you understanding till here? Yes. So in this case also they are telling agent, you concentrate on your work, and can we say agent is going to get commission now? So on that commission, the tax will be paid by the business correspondent, right? Then after that, going to the next one, that is security services, security personnel services, watchman kind of a services. When these services, security services are provided to a registered person. Okay, if it is provided only to a registered person, then in such a case, reverse charge mechanism is going to be applicable there. Now, in this security services, the security services should be provided by any person other than a body corporate. Okay, any person other than a body corporate, if this person is providing the services to any registered person. Okay, let's say example, individual watchman is providing services to a registered person. Then in that case, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, because you cannot expect that individual watchman person to get himself registered under GST and to pay the taxes. Okay, so any person other than a body corporate, if he is providing the services to a registered person, then in that case, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. Any services which is in the form of security personnel services, then reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. But reverse charge mechanism will not be applicable if this registered person is a government department, government agency, local authority, etc., who has just registered for the purpose of TDS under section number 51. Okay. See, government etc. is also a registered person now, but if they have taken the registration only for the purpose of TDS, then in that case reverse charge mechanism is not applicable. Then this, even if this person is an individual watchman person, this person will be liable to pay the GST on the same. Then in that case forward charge mechanism will be applicable. And second one is when this registered person is paying tax under composition scheme, means he is already a small person, then in that case also this registered person will not pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism, and the service provider will have to pay the tax under forward charge mechanism. Okay, I'll again repeat the point. In case of security services, first of all, by default, whenever the services are provided by any person other than a body corporate, okay, any person other than a body corporate is providing services to a registered person, then in that case RCM will be applicable. That is, the recipient, registered person, will be required to pay the tax on the same. But two exceptions are there. If the registered person is registered under composition scheme, RCM is not applicable. Or if the registered person is a government etc. who has got himself registered only for the purpose of TDS under section 51, then also RCM is not applicable. Right? And then the last 2 points coming up under this reverse charge mechanism is that suppose if any person is providing renting of motor vehicle, okay, renting of motor vehicle services only to a body corporate. Okay, if we are providing renting of motor vehicle services to a body corporate, and I am not charging, the service provider is not charging GST at the rate of 12%, means he is not going to pay the tax under forward charge mechanism, then in that case reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, and this body corporate will be responsible to pay the tax on the same. Okay, now renting of motor vehicle means what? I have given this motor vehicle to the body corporate and I am taking a lump sum consideration from that body corporate, and how to use the vehicle etc., where to take the vehicle, what time to take the vehicle, everything will be decided by the body corporate. Okay, this is not like your state government bus etc., where they will make the timetable. No, here we are renting our vehicle, we are giving our vehicle where the other person can decide, where this body corporate can decide how to use that particular vehicle. So in that case reverse charge mechanism is going to be applicable. Okay, and please note, renting of motor vehicle is different from passenger transport services. Okay, in renting of motor vehicle, I am giving my motor vehicle and I am giving the access to use as per his own will. Whereas in case of passenger transport services, I will decide that at what time the vehicle and at what route and at what cost, etc., the vehicle is going to operate. Right? So renting of motor vehicle services provided to a body corporate, where the body corporate is going to pay me the rent for that motor vehicle, on that reverse charge mechanism is going to be applicable, and this body corporate will be responsible to pay the tax to the government. Right? And the last one is lending of securities. Okay, lending of securities. If suppose there is a particular lender, okay, who has given his securities on kind of rent to a borrower under a particular scheme of SEBI, where the borrower is going to pay some consideration because he is taking the securities from the lender. On this also, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. That is, the borrower will be responsible to pay the GST on the same directly to the government. Right? So these were your 16 paras. Okay, till your 16 paras, your reverse charge mechanism provisions are applicable. Okay, where the recipient, okay, now whenever we are making the diagram, we are writing the supplier on the left hand side and we are writing the recipient on the right hand side. So the supplier is not at all responsible for anything under RCM. Only the recipient will be responsible to pay the tax to the government. Okay, in these 16 cases. And please expect questions out of any of these pointers in your examinations. Yes, if required, please read the pointers once again, either from these notes or from the main notes, and you will be crystal clear with the same. Don't worry about the same. Yes. Okay, now after these 16 pointers which are there, whatever paras we studied about, those are applicable. Means for those services, reverse charge mechanism is applicable, and that is applicable for your CGST also, and that is applicable for your IGST also. Means even if those are interstate supplies or those are intrastate supplies, for all those transactions which we studied just now, reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. Right? Now, one extra transaction, okay, one extra service which is taxable under reverse charge mechanism, but only under IGST Act. Okay, one extra service which is an interstate service on which reverse charge mechanism will be applicable. This is not included in your CGST because here we are just going to do about interstate transaction. So here they are telling that if there is any particular service which is supplied by a person who is located outside India. Okay, means can we say there is a person who is located outside India, that person is providing some service to any particular person who is located here in India. So can we say this is nothing but import of service for us? Imagine someone from US. Example, someone from US is providing services to us. So service provider is located outside India. We are located here in India. But except when it is received by NTOR, non-taxable online recipient. Okay, we will see what is this NTOR. Now, just try to understand. Someone from outside India is providing us some services to us here in India. Okay, then normally can we say forward charge mechanism is applicable, because we have not studied this till now in the above pointers. So if any person is providing services to us here in India, then in that case normally forward charge mechanism is applicable. And if forward charge mechanism is applicable, then can we say responsibility to pay the tax is on this particular person who is located outside India? If the responsibility is on this, then can we say this person will have to get himself registered under GST and then he will have to pay the taxes? Okay, but where is he located? He is located outside India. So here they are telling that let's not put the responsibility on him and let's put the responsibility on the recipient. Okay, recipient in India will be responsible to pay the tax, and therefore this transaction will also come under reverse charge mechanism. So import of services, the reverse charge mechanism will be applicable except in one circumstance. Okay, when there are some import of services which is received by NTOR. Okay, let's say there are certain services. Let's say there are certain OIDAR services, online information database access and retrieval services. OIDAR, online, which the services which are totally provided online. If this is received by any particular person here in India and this person is an unregistered person, people like you and me. Okay, example, Netflix providing OIDR services, Netflix subscription, etc. we take. Okay, and from that next Netflix subscription, can we say we get access to the database of Netflix? We can see whatever web series, whatever movies, etc. we want to see, and that service is totally provided online. So such service is one of the example of OIDR services, and if that is received by an unregistered people here in India, people like you and me, we take Netflix subscription. So in that case, do we really go and pay the GST separately to the government? No. Okay, so now can we say here, in this case, they are telling that recipient will not pay the tax, but Netflix, that company which is situated outside India, will have to get itself registered here in India or appoint an authorized representative here in India. And yes, it will have to pay the taxes here in India under forward charge mechanism, because here we cannot rely on so many unregistered persons. They will never go to the government and pay the taxes. Okay, but in case of other services other than OIDR services, okay, or when there are any services which are provided to any person other than N2R, let's say any services are provided to a registered person, then the responsibility is on the registered person to pay the taxes. But if there is any OIDR services received by an unregistered person, this unregistered person is called as non-taxable online recipient. Then in that case, they say that reverse charge mechanism is not applicable, and in such case, Netflix will be responsible to register here in India and to pay the taxes here in India. I hope I am clear till here, everyone. Yes. Okay, this is one extra service. Okay, this is one extra service which is applicable only for the IGST provisions. This was given under section number 9.3 and 5.3. 9.4 and 5.4. Okay, 9.4 and 5.4 can be read by you once. That is applicable in case of a builder. I'll just give you an overview of the same, that whenever there is a builder, okay, and builder is purchasing goods from an unregistered person, so in such cases, builder will be responsible to pay the taxes on those inputs and input services under reverse charge mechanism. Okay, now on which goods he has to pay the taxes under reverse charge mechanism, in which circumstance he has to pay the tax, that you can simply read it once. That is not relevant from your exam point of view, so I am not taking it under our super quick revision. Okay, then let's go to the last part of section number 9. Okay, what does section number 9 subsection 5 talks about? Okay, you can call this as section number 9.5, and correspondingly we are also doing section number 5.5, which is talking about e-commerce operator. Okay, now e-commerce operator is such a person who is owning, who is maintaining, and who is managing a particular website through which there are some goods and services provided. Okay, example, Amazon. Okay, Amazon is owning a particular application, it is owning a particular website which it is using for providing goods or services. Okay, similarly, Uber. Okay, Uber, Ola, Rapido, etc. They are also owning an electronic platform through which they are providing certain services. Okay, so now what they have done is, for the purpose of section number 9.5 and section number 5.5, they have notified 5 services. Okay, they have notified 5 services, and for these 5 services, if these 5 services are provided to the ultimate customer through e-commerce operator, then in that case, e-commerce operator will be responsible to pay the tax to the government. Okay, now see what are they telling, which type of services are they talking about. Let's say first service that they are discussing here is transportation of passengers. Okay, transportation of passengers by a radio taxi, by a motor cab, by a maxi cab, by a motorcycle, or any other motor vehicle. Definition of each term I have mentioned here for your quick reference. Okay, what is radio taxi, what is motor cab, motor car, etc. I have mentioned here, you can just read that. But if suppose there is a particular person, I'll explain you one transaction so that later you will be able to understand it. Let's say now there is a cab owner. Okay, let's say there is a cab owner who has listed himself on, let's say, Uber, Ola, etc. and he is providing further transportation services to a final customer. Can we say these services are provided through an e-commerce operator? Yes, see, the cab owner will be altogether a different person, Ola will be a totally different e-commerce operator, and the ultimate service recipient is another person. So in this case, we can say that recipient is this final customer, but can we say there are 2 suppliers here? Yes, one is your cab owner and one is your Ola Uber. So now who will be responsible to pay the tax? So they are telling that in such a case, if transportation of passengers is being done then in that case the person responsible to pay the tax is the e-commerce operator, that is Ola, Uber will be responsible to pay the tax to the government. Are you understanding this? Okay, that is the first point, that is services by way of transportation of passengers. Now here in the amendment, what they did was they have excluded a vehicle called as omnibus. Okay, a bus, a type of bus, they have excluded that here because they have considered it separately in the E point. Okay, so in the first point, passenger transport services are provided through a radio taxi, through a motor cab, through a maxi cab, through a motorcycle. Rapido is there, na? Bike, etc., or any other motor vehicle. An example also I have written here. So this can we say this is a service? Okay, so for this service, the e-commerce operator will be responsible to pay the taxes. Okay, similarly, next service is talking about accommodation. Okay, hotel accommodation. Now hotel is there, hotel is listed on, let's say, GoIbibo, and then GoIbibo provides the service to the final customer. So in this cases also, whoever is that e-commerce operator in between, okay, whoever is that e-commerce operator, that person will be responsible to pay the tax. It can be, you know, agoda.com, Make My Trip, GoIbibo, Ixigo, etc. Whatever are these e-commerce operator who are providing the services, those people will be responsible to pay the tax directly to the government. Okay, but except suppose if the person supplying such service, that is the hotel, main hotel, okay, if such person is liable for registration, if that person itself is a big person whose turnover has exceeded the threshold limit, and if the hotel itself is liable to take the registration, then there will be no responsibility on the e-commerce operator, and the hotel will be responsible to pay the tax on the same. Okay, similarly, if there are certain services provided in the form of like housekeeping services, like your plumbing services, carpentering services, painting services, AC repair services, when these are provided through e-commerce operator, you must have used this app called as Urban Company, okay, or similar type of apps, okay, from where we can just, you know, we can go to that Urban Company app and we can call a car carpenter, we can call a painter, we can call a sofa cleaner, we can call a AC repairer, etc. Whenever we are, okay, so can we say there is, let's say there is a carpenter, okay, who has registered himself on that app called as Urban Company, and then they are providing the services to the final customer. So the person responsible to pay the tax here is the e-commerce operator, that is the Urban Company, except if the carpenter is a big person who himself is registered under GST, then the carpenter will directly pay the tax to the government. Are you understanding this? Yes. And then next one, D point, is talking about the restaurant services. Okay, now let's say there is a particular restaurant which has listed itself on, let's say, Zomato or Swiggy, etc. And now they are providing the food to the final customer. Okay, in this case also they are telling that the person responsible to pay the tax is the e-commerce operator, that is Zomato, Swiggy, or any other third app, etc. Right? But if this restaurant, okay, if this restaurant is situated in some specified premises, okay, if this restaurant is situated in some specified premises, that is, it is situated in a hotel, okay, a restaurant situated in a hotel, and that hotel room tariff is above 7,500 per unit per day. Okay, per room per day, if the hotel tariff itself is 7,500, means can we say it is a big hotel? And in that big hotel, if this restaurant is situated, then in that case, e-commerce operator will not be liable, and that restaurant will be liable to pay the tax on the same. I hope you are clear till here, everyone. Yes, otherwise, let's say it is a standalone restaurant, it is not situated in any hotel, etc. Normal, it is a roadside restaurant. Then in that case, the e-commerce operator will be responsible to pay the tax on the same. And the last one is, we are going back to that transportation of passengers by omnibus. Okay, now what do you mean by omnibus? Omnibus is such a motor vehicle which can carry more than 6 people. Okay, more than 6 people plus 1 driver. It is such a kind of a bus. So if they are providing the services, okay, let's say there is a bus owner. Okay, let's say there is a bus owner who is providing the services through Redbus app. You must have heard, na? Redbus करके एक app है. Yes, and if they are providing the services to the final customer, then in that case they are telling that The person liable to pay the tax is going to be this Red Bus app, except if that bus company is a bus person is a company, except where the person supplying such service through e-commerce operator is a company. If this bus owner is in the form of company, then you are a big person anyway, you pay the GST. But let's say if this bus owner is an individual person, or if it is an HUF form, or it is in a partnership form, then the Red Bus app, the Red Bus company, that is the e-commerce operator, will be responsible to pay the tax on the same. Yes, so these are the 5 cases. Okay, these are the notified 5 services. Please remember, your goods are not covered. Okay, so Amazon selling goods, that is not covered here. Okay, so for that, section number 9(5) is not applicable, and Amazon is not responsible to pay any GST to the government. There, the original supplier will be responsible to pay the tax to the government. And in services also, not all services are covered here. Only these 5 services are covered here. And for these 5 services, the person responsible to pay the tax is the e-commerce operator. So he will pay the tax. Ma'am, what if there is no e-commerce operator in India? Okay, let's say Uber. Let's take the example of Uber. Uber is not an Indian company. Then in that case, we say that no problem. Your representative here in India. Okay, the person who is representing you, that person will be responsible to pay the tax. Means we are not shifting the responsibility. The responsibility is still on the ECO. If ECO is not having a physical presence, he is authorized representative. What if it is not having a physical presence also and no authorized representative? Then they are telling appoint someone. Okay, someone should come in India and that particular person will be paying the tax. I hope I am very clear till here, everyone. Yes, and then they have given few clarifications for this restaurant services that we just now studied in section number 9(5). Here they are telling that, see, whenever, let's take this restaurant example. Okay, restaurant was providing the services to the final customer through e-commerce operator. So we said that there are 2 suppliers. One is the restaurant is the supplier, and second one Zomato Swiggy is also the supplier. So here they are telling that Zomato Swiggy will be considered as a supplier only for the purpose of payment of taxes. Okay, the responsibility of Zomato Swiggy is only to pay the taxes. Otherwise, who is the supplier? Who is the recipient? That actual restaurant is the supplier and the final customer is the recipient. Okay, normal restaurant is the supplier and we are the recipient, but only for the purpose of payment of taxes, Zomato Swiggy will be considered as a supplier, right? So Zomato Swiggy will use the form called as GSTR 3B, in which it will show for the timing, it will show that amount as sales and it will pay the tax on the same under section 9(5). Okay, and always remember this, I will ask you later in some particular chapter. If section 9(5) is applicable, then TCS provisions under section 52. Okay, TCS provisions under section 52 are not applicable. Okay, but if section 9(5) is not applicable, then TCS provisions under section 52 is applicable. I am not going into detail of the same because it is too early to tell you about all those things. But just remember, if 9(5) applicable, TCS not applicable. If 9(5) not applicable, then TCS provisions will be applicable. Okay, and always remember, these e-commerce operators are anyway responsible for compulsory registration. Okay, they are responsible for compulsory registration. So for this purpose, they are not required, for the purpose of this payment of tax, they are not required to obtain a separate registration. No, not required. Under the same registration, they can pay the taxes. Okay, then next one, they are telling that whenever this sale happens, okay, this will be recorded in the aggregate turnover of the restaurant and not in the aggregate turnover of the Zomato Swiggy. Because who is the actual supplier? I told you, actual supplier is the restaurant. So whatever we are supplying to that particular customer, that will be included in the aggregate turnover of the restaurant and not of the e-commerce operator. You must have seen, na, whenever you order from Zomato Swiggy, let's say you order a food for 200 rupees and then Zomato has started charging that platform fee of, let's say, 5 rupees. So 5 rupees is the turnover of Zomato. Okay, 200 rupees is the turnover of that particular restaurant. Are you understanding this? Yes, these are some of the important clarifications that you need to remember for your restaurant services, right? Then going on to the next point. Next part is going to talk about classification under GST. Okay, this we had done in the first chapter also. This is not really very important. I'll just give you an overview of the same. Classification is done of goods as well as services. For goods classification, you use HSN code. For services classification, you use SAC, service accounting code. And for different products and different service, for different goods and different services, you have got different classifications within it. And besides the particular product, the tariff rate will be written and the HSN code will be written. Not this HSN code was not devised by India. This was actually devised by the World's Custom Organization, and this is used all over the world. This is normally of 6 digit and it is extendable, and India has extended it up to 8 digits. Okay, so HSN you're going to use for classification of goods. SAC you're going to use it for classification of services. That much, if you remember, that much is sufficient. Yes, now let's go to the last concept of the chapter, that is composition levy. Okay, composition levy is covered under section number 10 of the CGST Act. Okay, it is not covered correspondingly under IGST. Okay, just like section number 9 of CGST was correspondingly there in section number 5 of the IGST, but it is not the same for the composition levy. Right, for composition levy they are telling provisions are contained only in CGST, means it, you will understand it later why. Okay, now in composition, three section numbers, if you can remember, 10.1, 10.2 and 10.2a. Okay, 10.1, 10.2 and 10.2a, these three section numbers, if you can remember. Now here we had studied an overview in the first chapter that composition scheme is a scheme which they have brought for small taxpayers, that instead, like without taking much efforts, whatever is the turnover of such people, see, first of all, they will have to get themselves registered. Okay, once getting registered, at that time they can decide that whether they want to go under composition scheme or they want to go under regular scheme. If they come under composition scheme, whatever is their turnover, on their turnover they can pay a flat discounted rate of tax without the benefits of any input tax credit, etc. From their pocket they will have to pay this tax and the game is over, right? So this is how the scheme of composition is devised. Now section number 10.1 and 10.2 talks about composition scheme for goods, and section number 10.2a talks about composition scheme for services. Okay, 10.1 and 10.2 says that if you are dealing into goods, okay, if you are dealing into goods, be it manufacturer, be it a trader, be it a wholesaler, be it a retailer, etc. Plus if you are dealing into restaurant services. Okay, see, normally the name of the scheme is goods. Okay, but it includes everything relating to goods, and plus it also includes your restaurant services. If you are engaged into this, and if in the preceding financial year, if your turnover was up to 1.5 crore, then in the current year you are at least eligible to pay the tax under composition levy till the time your turnover in the current year does not exceed 1.5 crore. So up to 1.5 crore you can pay tax under composition scheme. There is no problem, provided in the preceding financial year also your turnover did not exceed 1.5 crore. Okay, similarly for services. Okay, similarly for services in section number 10.2a. Okay, if there is any particular service provider other than restaurant, restaurant was already covered above. If there is, let's say there is a beauty parlor, salon services, such type of services, any type of service provider, and if he says that he is also a small person, means what? If in the preceding financial year, if his turnover did not exceed 50 lakhs, then in the current year he is eligible to opt for this composition scheme till the time his turnover does not exceed 50 lakhs, and he can pay tax at a smaller rate. Okay, this was the overview. Now see, they have given the turnover limit that we have just seen. This they are talking about the eligibility. Okay, they are talking about the eligibility, that when will you be eligible for the composition scheme. So in case of goods, my turnover limit was 1.5 crore for all the states, but for 8 special category states. Okay, for 8 special category states, that is Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Manipur, Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Nagaland, Meghalaya, Tripura. For these 8 special category states, the limit is going to be 75 lakhs instead of 1.5 crore. Okay, and for all the other states, it is going to be 1.5 crore in case of goods. And in case of services, for all the states, okay, be it special category states or be it any other state, the limit is going to be 50 lakhs, just like we saw up. Are you clear till here? Yes, now see the next thing that they are telling. Now the next thing that they are telling us here is, what do you mean by aggregate turnover? See, here they had written that your aggregate turnover should not exceed 1.5 crore or 75 lakhs or 50 lakhs. Now what do you mean by this aggregate turnover? So in aggregate turnover, this you have to check it for the last year. So aggregate turnover is going, this left hand side is inclusions, this right hand side is exclusions. So it will include all the taxable supplies, exempt supplies, export supplies, interstate supplies, everything will be included in this. Okay, all the types of your sales will be included of all the persons coming under the same PAN. All my offices coming under the same PAN, that will be included here. And this calculation will be starting from 1st April. See, you are taking it for the last year, for the preceding financial year. So you have to take it from 1st April till 31st of March. Okay, total amount you are going to take, that will be your aggregate turnover. But your aggregate turnover will never include GST taxes. Because your turnover is not the amount including taxes, your turnover is always excluding taxes, and whatever are your purchases on which you paid the tax under reverse charge, that will not be included in the turnover. Why? This is your purchases, and what are you calculating? You are calculating your aggregate turnover. So in turnover, your purchases will never be included. Okay, so first of all, GST taxes will not be included, your purchases will not be included, and yes, one exempt service which was in the form of giving loans, deposit, advances, where the consideration is in the form of interest or discount, even this is to be specifically excluded from the aggregate turnover. Okay, so here what did we say? When you are checking the aggregate turnover for the last year, for that 1.5 crore and so on and so forth, for that everything will be included, but these three things will be excluded. One is your GST taxes will be excluded, your reverse charge purchases will be excluded, and one exempt supply of service where you have received some income in the form of interest or discount, that will be excluded. We have done many examples on this in our lectures, so you can just refer that if you are not able to recollect. Okay, now see, here they have written a note that exports and interstate supply, there is a star mark put up here. Now we have included exports and interstate supply also in your aggregate turnover, because you are checking the aggregate turnover for the preceding financial year. Okay, now when you are calculating the turnover for the current year, at that time exports and interstate supplies is not at all allowed. Okay, means if you are involved in doing exports or interstate supplies, then you cannot opt for composition scheme at all. Why? They are telling that if you are doing exports or if you are doing interstate supply, then you are a big person. And if you are a big person, then in that case, why are you coming for composition scheme? Okay, so in that case, your aggregate turnover can never include exports and interstate supplies. Okay, if you are doing exports and interstate supplies, then you are not at all eligible for composition scheme. But ma'am, then why did you include it here? Because here we are calculating the aggregate turnover for the last year. Last year if you were doing, no problem. But current year, you cannot involve yourself. That is the year when you are going to opt for composition levy. In that year, you cannot opt for the same. Are you understanding this? Okay, so this here we calculated the aggregate turnover for checking the eligibility. Now, if I fulfill the above condition, then in the current year, I am eligible for composition scheme. Okay, if I am eligible, then in the current year, up to a turnover of 1.5 crore or 75 lakhs or 50 lakhs, up to this, I can pay tax at discounted rates. Now, what are the discounted rates? Let's try to understand that. So, if you are a manufacturer other than manufacturer of notified goods, okay, if you are a manufacturer other than manufacturer of notified goods, that is, notified goods here are tobacco substitutes, aerated waters, fly ash bricks, then your ice cream, edible ice, etc. If you are involved in this, then you are not eligible for composition scheme. Okay, but if you are engaged in manufacture of any other item, let's say manufacture of this AC remote, then in that case, you can opt for composition scheme. Rate of GST in that case is equal to 1%, half and half percent, CGST, SGST, 1% of the turnover in that particular state or union territory. For every, suppose if you have multiple offices situated in different states, so for every state you will have to do the turnover calculation. On that turnover you can pay a flat rate of 1%. And yes, please remember, this 1% tax you cannot collect it from the recipient, you have to pay it from your pocket, because if you come under composition scheme, you cannot collect the taxes from any other person. Okay, similarly, if you are any other supplier, Okay, other than manufacturer, means you are a trader, you are a wholesaler, etc., then the rate of GST is equal to again 1%, but very very important, 1% only of the turnover of the taxable supplies. Means in aggregate turnover we were taking taxable supplies as well as exempt supplies. Okay, but if you're a trader, you're just required to pay 1% of the taxable turnover. Means can we say your turnover will reduce because of that? So the tax amount payable will also be reduced. Right? Acha. Then if you are providing restaurant and outdoor catering services under goods part only, then the rate of GST is equal to 5% of the total turnover in that state or union territory. 5%. Okay, manufacturer 1% of total turnover, trader 1% of taxable turnover, restaurant 5% of the total turnover, and for services, that is under section number 10(2)(a), for services it is going to be 6% of the total turnover. Okay, this is the discounted rate. Okay, this is the discounted rate at which you can pay the taxes under composition scheme, and this tax that you're paying, you are going to pay on the turnover in that state or union territory. Ma'am, how do we calculate the turnover in the state or union territory? So you will take all the taxable supplies and exempt supplies. Exempt supplies, can we say you will exclude it for the trader? Yes, this will be included. Then what same three things will be excluded here also. Okay, GST taxes will be excluded. Your purchases on which you have paid the taxes under reverse charge mechanism, that will be excluded. Then this point we had already studied. Any services that you have provided in form of lending, like giving deposits, advances, loans, etc., on which you are receiving the consideration in the form of interest or discount. So this was normally a part of your turnover, but here for the purpose of composition scheme you have to exclude it. And yes, one very very important thing that you have to exclude it here for the purpose of payment of taxes is the turnover from 1st April of that financial year till the time you become liable for registration. Okay, let's say this is your first year of business. Okay, if this is your first year of business, your last year turnover was anyway 0. So current year you are eligible for composition scheme. So in the current year, for the first 20 lakhs, which is the threshold limit for registration, can we say for the first 20 lakhs you are not responsible to pay any GST? See, this 20 lakhs will be included in your turnover. Okay, but on this 20 lakhs, you will not pay any GST. So that value of supply from 1st day of April of the financial year up to the day that person becomes liable for registration, even that turnover will be excluded for the purpose of what? For the purpose of payment of taxes. Right? We have done many numerical examples on this, and we have got many numerical examples in our main book also. Okay, so you can just refer that once. Okay, again I'll just tell you the previous calculation that we did, that was for calculation of aggregate turnover of the preceding financial year, just to check the eligibility. And this calculation that we are doing, this is for doing that turnover calculation, which is going to be for the purpose of payment of composition taxes. Yes, and once your threshold limit exceeds, once if your threshold limits exceed 1.5 crore, 75 lakhs or 50 lakhs respectively, then you will automatically get converted, or you have to compulsorily get yourself converted into the normal scheme, and from now onwards you have to start paying the taxes under normal scheme. Yes, okay. Then they have given us 5 pointers here. Okay, they have given us 5 pointers here where you are not eligible to opt for composition scheme. Okay, first of all, if you are providing any such goods or services which is outside the purview of GST. If it is outside the purview of GST, then there is no tax applicable, so there will be no composition scheme also. Okay, next, if you are doing interstate outward supply, okay, you are doing the sales in other states, or you are doing exports, then you are not eligible for composition scheme, that we have already seen. But what if I want to do interstate purchases? No problem. Okay, what is prohibited is interstate outward supplies is prohibited. Okay, if you are providing services through e-commerce operator where TCS is applicable but 9(5) is not applicable. Okay, if you are providing services through e-commerce operator and you are not falling under those 5 notified services, then you cannot opt for composition scheme. Then if you are a manufacturer of those notified products, if you are doing trading of these products, no problem. But if you are a manufacturer of these notified products, then it is a problem, then you cannot opt for composition scheme. And the last one, if you are a CTP or if you are a NRTP. CTP is a person who is doing business in India for a temporary period. Okay, for a temporary period, then that person cannot opt for composition scheme. You are anyway coming for a smaller period, come under normal scheme only. And if you are a NRTP, that if you are a foreigner who is coming to India and starting a business for a temporary period, then also you're not eligible for composition scheme. So in these cases, so in these 5 cases, basically you are not at all eligible for composition scheme. Whatever be your turnover, you have to go under the regular scheme. Okay, in this point is super duper important. That is, interstate outward supply if you are making, then you are not eligible for composition scheme. Next one here, this was the amendment. Goods word was cut here and only services was left. Means if you are providing any services through e-commerce operator where 9(5) is not applicable. Okay, example, I am providing you teaching services through some platform. Okay, if I am providing, then that was not covered in 9(5). Na? Those services were not covered in, teaching services were not covered in 9(5). So, in that case, I cannot opt for composition scheme, right? And then the next one, next concept, which is talking about marginal supply. Okay, marginal supply. Just try to understand this. Let's say if you are registered under section number 10(1) and 10(2), that is composition scheme for goods. Okay, in this case, in case of composition scheme for goods, you can do some marginal supply of other services also. Okay, and similarly for 10(2)(a), it was a scheme for services. So you can do some marginal supply of goods also, and you can still stay in the composition scheme. This is what is covered here. So here they are telling that if you are already a dealer in goods, can you provide little bit of other services also? So they say yes, you can provide it, but only up to a limit. Now how much is that limit? 10% of the turnover in the preceding financial year. Okay, 10% of the turnover in a state or union territory in the preceding financial year, or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher. Let's say your last year turnover was, let's say, 60 lakh rupees. So 60 lakhs multiplied by 10%, 6 lakhs or 5 lakhs, whichever is higher. So 6 lakhs is the value of marginal supply of services that you can do along with the goods. Okay, if you have exceeded this, then you cannot opt for the composition scheme, because then you are violating the provisions. And when you are calculating this turnover, exclude that interest or discount that was never included in our turnover for the purpose of composition scheme. And if you are registered under section 10(2)(a), that is, you are providing services and now you want to marginally provide some goods. So they are telling that you can provide, because till now there is no quantum. Okay, there is no restriction given that maximum up to what value you can supply this goods, right? And now they have given some theoretical points here, some procedural points which are coming up here. Here they are telling that any particular person who is there under composition levy. Okay, if this person is purchasing some goods, if this person is purchasing some goods on which he is required to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. So tax under reverse charge mechanism will be paid at normal rates. Okay, for paying that tax under reverse charge mechanism, discounted rate is not applicable. Next restriction is he cannot collect the tax. If he is a supplier, he cannot collect the tax from any other person. He has to pay the tax from his pocket. And if he is not collecting the tax from the other person, he cannot issue a tax invoice. He will have to issue a document called as bill of supply, and on that bill of supply, he will have to write that he is a composition taxable person, not eligible to collect the tax. And then in his place of business and additional place of business, on every notice board, etc., also he will have to mention that he is a composition taxable person, so that any particular person who is doing a transaction with him should be aware that he is registered under composition scheme. Okay, what is the punishment? The punishment is, see, if I am purchasing from a composition scheme person, he is not collecting the tax from me. If he is not collecting the tax from me, will I get any ITC or I will not get any ITC? I will not get any ITC, and the chain of input tax credit totally breaks, right? Similarly, intimation of obtaining for composition levy. Now let's say if there is a new person, unregistered person coming under GST, and if he wants to come for composition scheme, then he can fill this form GST REG 01, and in the part B he can fill his data and he can say that I want to opt for composition scheme, and that whatever is his date of registration, from that day he will be coming under the composition scheme. Okay, but what if there is a person who is registered under normal scheme and he wants to go under the composition scheme? Then he can do it only from the beginning of a particular financial year, and that intimation has to be done on the GST portal before that financial year begins. So this cannot be done from middle of a year, right? Acha. Then after that they say that when do you mandatorily withdraw from the composition scheme? So you should know the answer that whenever your threshold limit exceeds of 1.5 crore, 75 lakhs or 50 lakhs, then you have to compulsorily go under the regular scheme. Within 7 days of occurrence of the of this particular event, you have to intimate it on the GST portal and you will have to start paying the taxes under normal scheme, and now you will also start issuing the tax invoices. Right? And then the next one, voluntary withdrawal. Now if you say that no, composition scheme is not at all beneficial for me, I want to get into the chain of ITC and all those things, so he can withdraw from the composition scheme. Government says most welcome, and he can come under the regular scheme of GST. And he will have to submit a declaration, or he will have to submit a form to the GST department, and whatever is the date indicated in his withdrawal application, from that day he will be considered as if he has come under the regular scheme, right? And now suppose if you have made an application to the tax authority that you want to go under composition scheme, but the tax authorities have the right to reject your application. Okay, if they are of the opinion that no, you are not at all eligible for composition scheme, then it will first issue you a show cause notice. It will tell us why we should take you under composition scheme, and depending upon your reply, it will decide whether to give you the composition scheme or not to allow you under composition scheme. If it is not allowing you under composition scheme, then it will decide a date. Okay, that date can be a present date, or that date can be a retrospective date also, and from that date it can say that you will be there under regular scheme and you will have to pay the tax liability also under the regular scheme, right? And then a few more points given for this particular scheme. Here in case of composition scheme, because specific rates have been given, so they need not do the classification on the basis of HSN and SAC, because 1%, 5%, 6% is specifically given to them. Okay, next, these people cannot collect the tax, so they cannot issue a tax invoice, they will issue a bill of supply only, right? Now they need not pay the tax every monthly, etc. They will have to pay the tax on quarterly basis. Okay, and that too without taking the benefit of ITC, because this tax, whatever 1%, 5%, 6%, they are paying on their turnover and they have to pay it from their pocket. They will not get any benefit of ITC. Okay, GST return also, they have to just file an annual return. Okay, one return has to be filed for the entire year, life sorted. Okay, from this angle point of view. Then suppose if I have got multiple offices in multiple states, then all my offices should either opt for composition scheme or all my offices will come under regular scheme. You cannot do a pick and choose, this office composition scheme, this office regular scheme. No, that is not allowed. Right? Then after that, at this point we have already done. Taxable person who is opting for composition scheme cannot collect the tax and is not eligible for the input tax also. This we have already discussed about. And yes, next they are telling that suppose if you are still wrongfully availing composition scheme when you were not at all eligible for the same. Okay. Example, I am doing exports, still I am taking composition scheme. My turnover has exceeded, still I am taking composition scheme. Then in that case, boss, you will be liable for penalty and you will be liable to pay the full taxes, tax liability as determined by the tax authorities, and penalty will be applicable to you under section 73, 74, etc. I hope I am very, very clear till here. Yes, this was all about the revision of the entire chapter of charge of GST. I hope you are very, very clear with this. The chapter is containing many different pointers, so please be careful with that and study it accordingly. Thank you so much.